Cop mistakenly pulls over Chief of Internal Affairs, accuses him of matching a suspect. You won't believe what happened next. Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? Imagine being mistaken for a criminal by someone whose job it is to protect you. How would you feel if you were wrongfully targeted just because you fit a description? It was a quiet evening for Chief of Internal Affairs James Fletcher. Driving through a suburban neighborhood on his way home, he kept a low profile. It was supposed to be a peaceful night off duty. But fate had other plans. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where revealing your true identity could change everything? How would you react if the person judging you didn't know who you were? James noticed flashing lights in his rearview mirror. A police car was signaling him to pull over. A sense of unease stirred in him, but his training reminded him to stay calm and comply. Why would a cop be pulling over a regular car? Could it be a misunderstanding, or was something else at play? What would you do if you were in his shoes? James pulled over, feeling his pulse quicken. He'd handled tense situations before, but this was his private life, and control had just been snatched away. A young officer, probably in his late 20s, approached with an air of confidence, maybe even arrogance. "Step out of the vehicle," the officer ordered. James hesitated, sizing him up. The officer's stance and tone left no room for discussion. Have you ever been in a situation where someone judged you without even knowing you? How would you respond if they tried to force you into submission? James got out slowly and asked, "Is there a problem, officer?" His voice remained steady, hoping to diffuse whatever misunderstanding had led to this. The officer's expression grew harsher. "We received a report of a suspect matching your description involved in a robbery nearby. Where were you 10 minutes ago?" Imagine the humiliation of being questioned in public with no reason for anyone to doubt your innocence. How would you feel if your character was under scrutiny because of assumptions? James met the officer's gaze, calm yet firm. "I believe you have the wrong person," he replied, although a tension had entered his voice. He wasn't about to reveal his identity without good reason, but also wasn't willing to stand there quietly while falsely accused. The officer scoffed. "Oh, really? So now you're telling me how to do my job?" He looked James up and down, eyes narrowed. "You look nervous? Got something to hide?" What goes through someone's mind when they're accused of hiding something they didn't do? Do you comply, or do you stand up for yourself? James took a deep breath. "I have nothing to hide, officer, but I assure you, I'm not your suspect." The officer sneered. "I know your type, thinking you can talk your way out of anything. Not tonight." Have you ever felt that no matter what you say, someone's already made up their mind? How frustrating must it be to know the truth, yet be trapped by someone's prejudice? James' patience was wearing thin, but just as he was about to speak, the officer suddenly grabbed his arm, attempting to force him against the car. "That's unnecessary," James said, resisting the hold. "Oh, resisting now?" the officer said with a smirk. "Just makes you look guiltier." How often do misunderstandings spiral out of control, especially when pride and authority come into play? How far can someone be pushed before they're forced to defend themselves? James had tried patience, reasoning, and calm, but this was escalating. "You're making a serious mistake," he warned in a controlled tone. "Oh, really? You think I'm the one making a mistake here?" The officer scoffed again. At that moment, 2 more officers arrived as backup. The situation was quickly spiraling, and James knew he'd have to act soon if he wanted to keep things from going any further. What would you do if a crowd started forming, all ready to judge you without knowing the truth? How would you handle an unfair trial right there on the side of the road? James noticed onlookers gathering, watching as he stood accused without any real cause. The officers huddled, taking cues from the original cop, who insisted, "He matches the description." Suspect thought he could slip through. Imagine watching your integrity questioned, knowing it's based on nothing but assumptions. How much can one tolerate before needing to take control? James knew it was time to end this ordeal. Slowly, he reached into his pocket, making sure everyone could see he wasn't reaching for a weapon. He pulled out his badge, holding it up for the officers and the crowd to see. Silence fell over the scene as everyone registered the badge, marked Chief of Internal Affairs. "You're with Internal Affairs? one officer stammered, his confidence fading fast. James nodded. Yes. And I think this little misunderstanding has gone far enough, don't you? The officer who'd pulled him over looked stricken, his demeanor shifting immediately. I didn't realize, I thought. James cut him off. You thought you could treat someone like a criminal based on assumptions? It doesn't work like that, officer. How would it feel to finally reveal the truth to those who doubted you? What lessons would you hope they'd take from their mistakes? The cop mumbled an apology, barely able to meet James's gaze. But James had seen enough. He knew this wasn't just a simple mistake.